We have 3 children that have dwarfism that we chose to bring into this world. And I can't imagine in what world you live in that you can look at our 3 kids and be like, yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. I cannot look at my kids and see anything but the grace of God and the love of Jesus.
Comments will say like, why would you bring, kids with dwarfism in? They're going to get ridiculed. Yeah. And it's like, well, hold on, that's not my problem and that's not their problem. That's those people's problems. That's like, I'm not going to bring someone into this world because of how society is going to treat. No, then that's a society educational. Right. Society needs to change.
I cannot look at my kids and ever think that they were not supposed to be here. That's just like, that's madness to me. They're miracles, they're blessings, they are my life. Even when parenting is hard and even when I feel drained, I still, at the end of the day, look at my kids and just go, thank you, Lord, for giving me this life, giving me this family, and allowing us to do what we do.
Oh, yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Raising Heights with Zach and Tori. I'm Zach.
And I'm Tori. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
It is hot today. It is hot outside and
Summer
I'm
has
loving
begun.
it. I don't know why I'm wearing a sweatshirt right now. That was a really poor decision on my part, but
short shorts.
Here we are. Short shorts. I hope this is not inappropriate for those watching YouTube right now.
Yeah, summer is here though. We got some summer weather right now.
Yes, we do.
We got the shark out. The shark is
guys. Costco. This is not sponsored. Costco. If you get the opportunity, it's a good investment. I will be honest. It's a good investment. Like money wise, like it's a significant investment. However, it's a fantastic investment to buy their bounce house slide water park thing. Yep. This is our second summer using it and our kids love it.
We actually bought a second one this summer, aka you have to buy this in February when it's actually in the store. But we bought a second one for when this one pops, hopefully in 4 years we'll have another one.
That one on back burner.
By then Costco it'll be out of stores and you'll never see it again. So you got to buy things at Costco when they're there.
It's so good. Our kids love it, especially Josiah. He will sit in that thing all day long.
Jackson, though, too. And Lila, when we first got it, obsessed.
They're obsessed. Yeah. And our kids are so bougie, you guys. It's so ridiculous because our outside spigot, the one that exploded and ruined our kitchen, that one will put out hot water. So it's like hot and cold. So our kids are so bougie because we'll do like a little bit of hot water for this water slide so that they're not.
We did it like one time and then they can't do anything else.
And we'll go to friends' houses and they'll be like, can you make the water a little warmer? And we're like, that's not a thing.
Or they'll say, can you turn on your hot water?
Yeah. We are ruining our children for sure.
But anyway, they love it. Summer's here. It's been warm out. We kind of skipped over Peak and Pit.
I will start with my pit this week because I feel like a lot of times our social media and our podcasts and everything can look like this really perfect, and I'm just kidding, it doesn't look perfect, but you know what I mean, we don't post a lot about like the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It's not as pretty and fun, and this has been a tough week in parenting for me. I feel really just drained. This is week 3 of summer. We're on week 3 of summer and it's just been really hard at home, like with listening, being respectful. Lila lied to me today, which was very difficult. Lied to us. Yeah. But sorry, I take it personally. Like it's been a rough minute in parenting, and I think that we're all at home all the time. Zach and I are trying to work from home on our own, but also still be present in parents, and we need to find a better balance. Like it's been really difficult. We need to find a better balance,
and sometimes I feel like parenting, do we jump on our kids too much? Like, do we nick them for every little thing? Sometimes we just have to maybe because otherwise we're just drained every day. If we're jumping on them for every little thing, like, are we too strict?
And you're right. And I think that it's hard when you start with a boy that you put all of your time and energy into, and then now we have this third boy that it's not feasible for us to put all of our time and energy into. It's third child, and there's so much guilt that goes with that. There's so much, I'm not spending enough time with Josiah. I'm not taking the time to teach him how to communicate and to learn and do all of these things like we did with Jackson.
Yep.
Our first child, when that's the only one you have to put your energy into. And so I end my days with so much guilt of, gosh, I just got, because Sai is a very stubborn kid. He's very like, he's very headstrong, and he wants it, and he wants it now. And there's a lot of screaming, there's a lot of crying from him because he's not getting that. He's not getting immediate. And it's just like, you know, at the end of the day, feeling this guilt of, gosh, I didn't sit down and like teach Josiah how to communicate that with me. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get emotional right now. It's hard though. It's hard to like be frustrated by your kids at the end of the day.
Yeah.
When you know that like I didn't do my best job at parenting that day. I don't know. But it's also, I don't think I was going to get
there's
emotional.
also a realisticness that like we don't have, we only have so many hours in the day, and we have to split them up between 3 kids. Ourselves
and house.
Work, and it's you know, so, and then unfortunately Jackson sometimes gets the short pie because Jackson or Josiah and Lila have needs. This is for anyone that has multiple kids. Like Josiah has certain needs, like he needs help with things like feeding and making his own food and water,
but also
diaper.
Like working. And those moments I don't think I get as like, I think I get more emotional over the like he needs help learning how to communicate, how to be a good person.
And that's what I was getting to. He has needs, so we have to give him time for that. Like we dedicate part of the pie for his needs, but then we have to dedicate part of the pie for teaching him things, things like that. And now that's less and less time with like say Jackson. Jackson doesn't get that one-on-one time with needs because he doesn't have as many needs. He doesn't have as many. Yeah, he can do things on his own, but he still craves that one-on-one time. And then there's Lila, who, you know, needs kind of help with needs, kind of not, but then also needs one-on-one time, educational, and just 100%. Playtime. And so it is hard because, and you want to split the pie up equally, but it doesn't work that way.
And I think that I get emotional because you know, even just putting Josiah down for a nap today, he is our most stubborn and just thick-headed kid, I think. Yeah. But he's also the most loving. Like he's also the one that just wants so much cuddle, and back rub, and he just wants attention. And so like I was putting him down for a nap today, and he was screaming because he got in trouble, and then that was like, oh, it's time for a nap because you're like being ridiculous right now. And then I took him into his room, and I just like held him, and I was like, just give mom love. And he just cuddled up to me, and I was like, gosh, if I would have just like been a little bit more patient this afternoon. There was a lot of work this morning. Like I was on a lot of phone calls and meetings this morning. And so I didn't have time with my kids the way that I feel like was necessary. And I don't know, it could just be very guilt. Like,
well, they inducing. You know, the parenting, things chip away at your patience, you know, chip away. And then by the end of it, you know, something that maybe shouldn't have set you off or us off or whatever does, because you already have been chipped away, right? And it's hard to even explain it. Like at the end of the day, it's like I just feel like I've been chipped at all day. You've been like,
So that's my pit. It's just parenting in this moment right now is very draining, and I like,
this is probably super relatable to people though. Like
but I think I get emotional about it and upset about it because I do love being a mom so much. And so when we have these moments, which we have every once in a while, we have these highs where we're like, gosh, parenting's so easy, we could totally do another kid. And then other times I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm in over my head, you know. But truly being a mom is what I love so much. And so when I have these weeks of just feeling honestly depressed and like I'm not doing a good enough job, it's hard. It's hard to sit in.
It's hard to divide the time up. Like everyone struggles with this. And then your first kid is craving for that one-on-one time that he knows he felt at some point when he was 1, 2. So they're searching for that constantly. The third is searching for anything they can get. You know, they don't even know what they want, but they know that's something. And the middle is in the middle. You know, the middle, you sometimes put them with the oldest, sometimes put them with the youngest. They bounce around, and then they start manipulating the situation. Well, who's getting what? Okay, I want to go with Jackson because he's getting something better.
And I think I
want to go with Josiah because
I think that happened today though too. Like having Lila like straight up lied to both of us, and that was like, and you could tell when we caught her in it, we were like, we asked her, like, is this true? You could tell, you could see the remorse in her face when she
didn't know how to backpedal.
Yeah, but I think that it was that she was like, well, I don't want to get stuck with this kid, but I also don't want to go get stuck with this kid. Like, it was,
Yep. So that's a bummer.
Parenting is hard.
It's pretty, but they're sweet though. It's summertime, so we'll have more fun with them. And we're going to, what's her peak? What's your
peak? Well, I guess I can't say what it's going to be, or I hope it's going to be, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about what we're doing in our summer. But peak for me, we went on 2 date nights this week, didn't we? We went on 2 dates. We went and saw.
Oh yeah,
and saw John Chris, and
Hilarious.
That was the best night ever.
Best
like
night ever.
I keep telling Zachary how much I needed that night. I didn't realize that I needed to like go on a date and just get out. And that show, it was so funny.
Yep.
John Chris is a comedian. For those who don't know, he's a comedian that Zach and I found 2 or 3 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years, like when he first started doing these funny reels and TikToks, and we found him and we'd share his TikToks with each other because we thought he was so funny.
Yeah.
And he made a couple dwarf jokes, which honestly
Hilarious.
Is what like we're like, who is this guy?
He did a canceled, like going through the grocery store, which foods are canceled, and he went to, what was it?
I don't remember. It was like some ice cream cone.
Yeah, and they were called like.
I don't know. I don't remember. I want to say they were called. Can I say it or no?
I think say it.
I think they were called midgies.
Yes.
And he corrected them and goes, they're called little people.
Yes.
Canceled.
Yes.
And that was the first video I found of his, and I sent it to Zach, and I was like, this guy's hilarious.
Yep.
So he ended up coming to Portland. But the thing I loved most about his show,
not just him though, his opening acts
were great. Oh, they were
two
so
comedians before
Derek
him.
and
I don't remember.
and John. It was
2
Johns and a Derek,
yes,
I believe.
Yes.
They were fantastic also, but it was a clean show.
Yes.
I've been to comedian shows before, or comedy shows before, that were very like crude. There's a lot of cursing. There's a lot of sexual innuendos. Like
cursing, like, okay, I can get it. It can be funny, this and that. But when you go to a clean show, you recognize like cursing could be cheap comedy too. Like you can put a curse word in there, and then all of a sudden it's funny.
Right.
When there's no cursing, I find it,
and it was still hilarious.
Yes, it's good. You know, it's good comedy.
Yeah.
They're not taking the cheap way out by again sexualizing everything and cursing, because that could be.
And I thought one of the best parts about the entire show, and sorry, John, if I'm giving away something that I shouldn't about your show, because I've never seen any clips from his show. And maybe I don't.
Well, I don't think that's a thing.
I don't think that's a thing either. Yeah. So I'm sorry if I'm sharing something I shouldn't. But one of the things I loved about his show is he was so funny, so great, but he took a minute in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
To share the good news. And I was like, whoa. And he did it in a funny way. Like he did it in a comedic way. And he like, you could tell any emotion. He was like, whoa, don't talk about emotion right now. But he shared the good news. And I was like, dude, this is so rad. Like, this is such a cool. It sounds like he
went through something. Like he went through something.
Yeah.
Like 4 years ago, and then but he basically said, "Hey, Jesus loves you."
Yeah, he was like, "There is a God that loves you, and never forget that."
Yeah,
and,
if you're going through something similar, but then again,
and then he like turns it into a joke. Which
he's like, "That was weird." Anyway,
he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean for this to get this serious." But it was just like it was just such a great night. And so that was my peak, was like being able to go with my husband. We went to dinner beforehand. We left like 2 hours before the show, and we were so lackadaisy and relaxed. And we went and had Grazia, which is an amazing pasta place in Vancouver. And like we just casually went to his show, and it was great.
His show was hilarious too. Highly recommend.
I think he just finished his tour, but I think he has one in the fall.
He has another one coming out pretty soon.
It was so good.
Pretty funny.
What was your peak?
Same. Going on a date, obviously, peak. Pitt. Parenting's been tough this week. Just figuring out summer schedule and how do we navigate that? How do we fit everyone's needs in there, our own needs, and then also, the needs of work and what we actually need to get done. How do we divide that all up? So
right.
But I think we'll get there. We'll figure out a system. And every day, Josiah and Lila are we're gonna miss these days, but they're getting. There's moments. There's more and more moments of them hitting their groove and being more independent. And
Josiah is so cute in his little overalls today out there in the sand pit, just like
he could put on his own shoes now. So it's like that's
his boots.
His boots.
So cute.
But then he takes them off.
I just love him.
Yeah.
It's parenting is not for the faint of heart. It comes in waves. But what did I just post? We just posted that reel of you shut up. Yeah. That one. Yeah. We just posted that, and it was like point of view an entire day of parenting toddlers, and so many comments were like, just wait till they get to be teenagers.
I felt super uncomfortable saying that.
I know. Do it for the gram. Gotta do it for the gram.
Yeah. So yeah, Peak and Pit. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Summertime.
Summertime.
What are we doing this summer?
We are about to embark on a very big quest.
9-day journey.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. But I'm so drained just thinking about it.
I know.
Where are we going?
If you're drained just like living at home, imagine traveling.
What do they say vacations at this age is just parenting in a different city?
Yeah, which is
That's
worse.
Just what we're doing. We're just parenting in a different city.
Where you actually don't have all your stuff with you. And you're cramped up in like a 10x10 hotel room, and it'll be great.
Where are we going?
We're going to Washington, D.C. / Baltimore.
Why are we going to Washington, D.C.?
I've never been.
But we're going to Washington, D.C. because
we're going to
Little
Washington,
People
D.C.
of America is in Baltimore this year.
Yes, LPA is in Baltimore. LPA DAAA convention is in Baltimore. And turns out Washington, D.C. and Baltimore are like...
pretty close.
Pretty close, okay? All those East Coast cities. Out here on the West Coast, we're all spread out. Like, it's 3 hours to Seattle, 6 hours to Boise, 10 hours to Sacramento.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're super spread out up here. There's 3 major NFL teams, 4, 5, 6 NFL teams in this area the size of Oregon. Yeah. On the East Coast.
So true.
Like,
yeah. Okay, so, y'all are jam-packed over there.
You guys got Boston, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, like... It's bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know any of this.
No, but I'm just saying they're all like right here.
All right there,
like,
yeah.
Anyway, so we're like, hey, while we're in Baltimore, let's do.
So we're
2
like
days.
Extending or like previewing or whatever you want to call it before.
So right before we'll do 2 days.
And the reason why we're going to DC is I have been there, but you've never been there.
Tori's middle school wasted a trip ticket on her.
Don't send your 8th grader to Washington D.C. It's a waste of money.
Yeah.
No, actually, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. I actually loved that trip to Washington, D.C., but it is kind of wasted on an 8th grader who like can't appreciate the history and what actually happened there.
I would have appreciated it at 8th grade. I'm a history nerd.
How old are you in 8th grade? You're like 14, right?
13, 14.
13, 14. So you take a 13 or a 14-year-old, you take them out to a field. Like, who knows what happened in this field? I couldn't tell you what field we were at, but some field in Philadelphia, dressed up as a pilgrim or a colonial woman. And like, this woman gets on our bus, and the Snickers that happened in that bus, everyone was like, what is she wearing? Why is she doing that? Yeah. Where now I'd be like, this is so cool. Look at what she's wearing, like just the differences in your maturity. So I'm excited to go, and like
I'm super excited. I've never been. Seeing like the
White
House, the Capitol, the Lincoln Memorial, and whatever
Washington Monument,
whatever
the
museums
Smithsonian's.
Our kids bless us with.
I know. But I really want to take you though too to Arlington National Cemetery. That's one thing we haven't talked about that I really want to take you to.
Isn't that a little bit of a drive?
It is a little bit of a drive. Is it a big drive?
I think it's in Virginia. Isn't that in Virginia?
No idea, Zachary. I'm so bad at geography.
I could be wrong too. I haven't looked it up.
I don't know. Remember though, we did a trip to Williamsburg, and Arlington wasn't that far.
Well, Williamsburg was far from Washington, D.C.
See, I'm an idiot when it comes to geography. I failed that part of my schooling.
Yeah, Williamsburg is in Virginia, like Jamestown.
But that's what I'm saying is I want to say, is Washington, D.C. north of?
Yeah.
So that's what I want to say. Arlington was pretty far north of Williamsburg.
Well, we can look it up.
We should look it up. Yeah. But like, I also went to Amish country when I went in 8th grade, and like Amish country was amazing.
Yeah. Remember, you went to... We've been to Philadelphia together, and you were at the Boston LPA convention. Yeah. Was your first convention. What?
Yeah. But we weren't in Philadelphia for Boston.
We weren't in Philadelphia for Boston.
but you just said it. We went to the Boston. We didn't do that. Wasn't the same trip.
We have been to Philadelphia together.
Yes.
I think that was
and we
TLC
saw like
thing.
the Liberty Bell.
Yes, and then but also, really cool. So we have seen some of these historical cities.
That's true.
But I've never been to Washington
D.C. will be fun.
I'm pretty stoked for it.
I'm stoked, but I'm very nervous.
Yeah, and then we'll just drive up like an hour to Baltimore.
Yeah.
For the convention. Stay there for
So
5-6
what
days.
is LPA?
LPA is, for those of you who don't know or do follow us and live under a rock, Little People of America. It's an organization that hosts a yearly convention for people with dwarfism and short-statured. And then in concert with that, DAAA hosts a weekly games.
What's DAAA?
Dwarf Athletic Association of America. So DAAA. Dwarf Athletic Association of America. They host games at the same time as LPA. So you kind of you get your sports, and then LPA does a lot of medical support groups, dancing, connections, workshops, things like that. I don't know why I'm talking to you.
But let's be honest, it's one big party all week with
also,
all of your friends.
It's also a pretty good party.
It's very fun.
Yeah, you live in a hotel. You live in like a very nice hotel, like a middle of the city hotel, for a week basically, a bit like either a Marriott, Hilton, something like that, and that's always fun. You don't do that, No. Even when you're vacationing, you'll stay at like a Holiday Inn somewhere in the suburbs. So anyway.
It'll be fun this year. It being in Baltimore, I was not going to go this year. I was going to let you go and just like do your thing, because Zachary is vice president of DAAA, so he's very involved with the sports and athletic part of the whole convention. And I was going to let you just go and do your thing, but we're going as a family because this is the first year that Jackson can compete.
So will compete in Junior A. He has competed.
No, but like he hasn't.
Okay, he's in the futures. No.
The futures don't compete though. That's just
no. We gotta. Okay, the futures is a lot of fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so cute. Are you kidding me? But they don't compete. They
don't get split up into teams.
Yeah, they just play together.
They get in their group. They have their group, and then as we evaluate them and play games, then we'll do a little scrimmage for soccer.
But like junior A's get to like, it's a tournament.
Yes.
It's like they get to play and compete and they keep score.
But futures is also very cool.
Futures. Well, okay. And then also Lila can compete in futures this year.
Yeah.
So we weren't going to go, but then now I'm like, well, we have to go because I want to see our kids compete and they want to compete. And
it'll be very fun to see Lila do basketball, track, and soccer.
She's been practicing in the backyard, you guys. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It'll be super cute. And then Jackson.
And she has, don't move on from Lila too quick. She has these shoes that she has picked out, her pink soccer shoes. And she's like, she'll tell me all the time. She'll go, Mom, these shoes make me so fast. Yeah. I'm going to wear these for, whatever. And so she's so stoked for DAAA.
And then Jackson's in Junior A, which, we split up into teams. There's 4 teams.
Which is a lot for juniors.
Yeah, there's a lot. Each team has like 13 kids on it, 14 kids on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very well attended. For DAAA, I think for LPA too, for DAAA for sure, since I've been on the board, this seems like high numbers.
Yeah.
We've never had 4. I think we have 5 Junior B teams,
which is older kids.
Which is slightly older. So Jackson will be in the 7 to like 11-year-old age group, and then, or 7 to 10, and then it's 11 to 15, and then 16 and up is the open. Those are the adults.
Are you playing this year?
I'm playing this year. I'm going to focus on Jackson and Lila, but I still like to play soccer.
Zachary still is out there doing his thing. Are you just doing soccer, or are you going to do anything else?
I'm on the touch football team.
Oh.
But
I didn't know that.
My captain said he didn't need me for basketball.
So are you not good
usually
at basketball?
I do soccer. I've never done the football though. Since we've done touch football,
I've never seen you play football.
done it.
You'd be good at it though.
Yeah, there's a lot of football has a lot of pointless running though. Your guy's not getting the ball, or you're not getting the ball, but you still have to run your route. It's touch football, so there's no either
tackle.
You're running routes. You're basically a bunch of wide receivers if you're not the quarterback. And then you have to man mark your guy, and sometimes your guy's not getting the ball, you still have to follow him, or you just heard the play, I'm not getting the ball, and you still have to sprint your heart out for like 10 yards, and I'm too old for that, so we'll see how it goes.
I've loved though being able to come to all of these, because I've gone to a lot now, a lot of LPA, DAAA events, and it is fun watching you compete. That is one of the highlights of my year too.
I enjoy it still. That's the thing.
So
I feel old sometimes, or like last year, there's only 4-5 athletes older than me signed up, you know, but I don't know, like,
who cares?
And some of it's just people's, you know, this is a segue. If we didn't have kids with dwarfism, yeah, I don't know if I wouldn't be going to LPA.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be telling you.
No, or like you would be going by yourself.
And
like,
I think I would have
thing.
stopped doing DAAA, and I would have been okay with it a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Which happens to a lot of people with dwarfism. They they go and attend when they're young to meet friends and like feel connected to the community, but then they kind of drop off.
There's multiple people this year that are coming that have kids excited. Now with dwarfism
I'm so excited.
I grew up with, but I haven't seen them for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, because they, you know, once you get out of college or meet someone, get married, like you don't like need LPA as much, or it's expensive. Life gets busy. College, you're trying to pay off that college debt, and you know
you're not going to do that going in.
But then, yes, when you have a kid with dwarfism, you revisit it. You know,
and I feel like we've talked about this a lot. Like, how much do we want to be involved with LPA and DAAA? Like, how much do we want our kids? Because it can be a very fun and engaging and connecting community, but then at the same time, we don't want our kids to feel like that's reality, because it's not. Like,
and it's very difficult
to spend a week with like it's weird, honestly, to like go into a place and I'm the tallest one there, you know, and that's not reality, and we don't want our kids to like obsess over it. But then it's hard because Jackson's like ready to ball, and he's gonna like dominate at
But also Jackson goes and he ends up hanging out with all the average kids.
Oh, he totally
does. You know, so like later on I'm gonna be like,
already like our friends from Colorado, he's like, I can't wait to see so and so, and I'm like, well, like meet other friends too. Like, yes, they are friends, but like, you know,
he's still Jackson's navigating, figuring out, you know, understanding dwarfism, and we don't emphasize it to him. I don't sit Jackson down. We don't sit Jackson down and say, you're a dwarf. Like, this is what that is. Like,
you have dwarfism.
We allow him to come to us. And I would suggest this for anyone. Like, I would truly, you know, say, you know, there's a lot of different right ways to parent. I will say this is one of the ways. We don't search, or like, we don't say Jackson. We allow him to come to us.
Yeah, we don't like questions. Have these conversations with him. We have the conversations when they are brought up by him.
Yes, we allow him to make the observation on his own, and then
because what did he just ask me? He goes, "Mom, why aren't you playing with Dad?"
Yeah.
In LPA.
Yeah.
And what was my response? And do you remember? I was like, well, I'm a little tall.
Yeah. Or he'll ask why.
But that's all it need. That's all he needed. He didn't need me to sit there and be like, well, let me explain why you and your dad are different. Like, it was just, Mom's too tall. Cool. Moving on. Yeah. You know, we just
allowing your kids to make their own observations and slowly integrate that, educate themselves. You know, but like, I strongly believe, don't force it, and don't make it an identity thing too early. So back to your point,
which can pour into any aspect of your kid's life, like making things your child's identity. Like, let them make their you know, don't let medical diagnosis or physicality or anything be a trait that your child identifies with. Like, that's just not
making. Don't give them an answer before they're ready to hear it too, or if they can't understand it yet. I would say so. If we did not have kids with dwarfism, I don't know if we would still be going. But now that we do, like, literally we hit the jackpot, 1, 2, 3. And so now, like, I joke with everyone. I'm like, now it's, you know, now like
we're stuck. We're married to it.
Yeah, we're married to it. But to our point, though, we will continue to probably go to LPA, DAAA things. Yeah. But it is a distance thing where it's like, this isn't reality.
It's not this is fun, but it's not everything.
LPA and DAAA can be very expensive too. These are major cities.
I know.
You know, staying in a major hotel in a major city all over the United States every year is very taxing, and that's why a lot of families are priced out of it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it is a certain crowd, because a lot of families sacrifice to bring their kids there,
and not everyone wants to have their family vacation for the year be LPA. Like, some people want to go to Hawaii, they want to go travel the world. Like, you know, it is definitely like, we're not traveling this summer. That is our vacation this summer.
That's one thing we'll be able to justify, though. Say we do, enjoy it and say let's make this a thing. I remember growing up, average height siblings, but then we're going to LPA every summer.
Yeah, they're stuck.
Well, they might want to go somewhere else. They might want to go do their own thing. Why does every major, I'm not saying my siblings said this, but the questions that come up from families like my family, having an average height siblings, and why are we doing vacations that center around, it was me, but like so and so every summer? Why can't we do something different? But
making sure your siblings didn't have resentment for you, like dictating where vacations were taken.
But like I said, we have 3 dwarf kids, so I don't think we'll have that issue.
Yeah, we win.
Yeah. But yeah, that brings up our topic 30 minutes in.
Yeah. Hello.
So we got like 20 minutes left.
Well, I think that I think what we've been talking about is great. And I think something to tie into that is, we get a lot of feedback from people that just don't deserve to have a voice, honestly, like in our world or in our lives. Like there's just a lot of people that I don't believe have this space, but it is brought up occasionally, questioning our decision to have children when we knew that they could have dwarfism, and why we chose to have kids when we knew that they could have dwarfism. So I thought an interesting kind of segue into this would be from what, we're not doctors, we're not professionals, we are not anything of importance in this realm, but what are the odds for us having kids with dwarfism?
Yeah, it was 50-50.
Supposedly.
A private tour, a golden tour back in the day, actually gave me this theory. Mathematician or whatever, nerd alert. In statistics, okay, I know I'm saying the word.
I know. Sorry.
In statistics, okay, there's 50-50 chance, but that doesn't necessarily mean it goes A, B, A, B, A, B. It can go A, B, A, B, 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 A, and then the rest of them are B's out of 50, say, and it was 50-50 at the end of it. So we have a 50-50 chance.
Right.
We might have just hit a cluster. Okay.
We hit a cluster. Okay. That's the perfect way to describe it.
We hit a dwarfism cluster somewhere in the cycle.
We hit the jackpot, man.
And if we have 3 more kids, they could all be average height. Okay.
Isn't that wild?
When we end it, we already have ended it.
We have ended it. We'll never know.
Yeah, no more kids.
We will never know.
We could have 3 average heights in a row.
Yeah.
And then you're it's 50-50.
Yeah.
So
that's so funny. So Zachary's form of dwarfism is achondroplasia, and we get the question a lot of could he have any children that have the same type of dwarfism as your dad, which is dystrophic. And what's the answer to that question?
It's been told no.
Your chances, your and I chances of having a child with dystrophic dwarfism is the same as 2 Joe Blows that got married and had kids.
Yeah.
It's because, and tell me if I'm wrong, dystrophic dwarfism is a recessive
this is where I
trait.
Get lost. Yeah.
So achondroplasia is a dominant gene. So if you have achondroplasia, you have the gene. And dystrophic dwarfism is a recessive gene. So you could carry the gene, but your partner would have to carry the same gene to then have a child with dystrophic dwarfism.
And that's what makes my dad's parents wild. It's my dad has a dystrophic, and then my uncle, his brother, is also a dystrophic.
So the fact that they had two children with dystrophic dwarfism, they both were just heavy carriers of that recessive gene, and that's why their kids had that. Where achondroplasia, and I don't know about dystrophic dwarfism, if it can also be a random mutation. I want to say no. Achondroplasia can be a random mutation. 2 parents can have two average height parents could have a child with achondroplasia dwarfism, and it's just a random.
I don't know.
That's where I get kind of who knows, and that's in God's hands. I don't know what that is, but supposedly Zachary and I's chances of having a child with dystrophic dwarfism are very random. That would be extremely rare for us to have a child with that type of dwarfism, but achondroplasia was
so what do people say though on the dark holes of social media? I thought that's what you were saying.
Yeah, so I mean, like, we do get that a lot of, or not I wouldn't say a lot, that's being dramatic.
We don't get it a lot, but
when we do, it's very loud, and it's very hard to ignore when people question our decision to have children when we knew that they could have dwarfism.
Yeah.
And we knew pretty strongly that they could, I mean, like, and like, why would we continue to have children after our first, like, you know,
there's an argument too, like people argue about this type of disability is like a born disability.
Yeah. Why would you pass that along?
But then also I've heard, like, why would you pass that burden onto society?
Yeah.
You know, why would you verse a disability that happens after the child or the person is born, like lose a leg or something, amputee or blindness. You're not born blind, but you become blind, or you're not deaf, you become deaf. You have all your limbs and you lose a limb.
Right.
Do you get the difference there?
Totally,
so like there's a different treatment or different way of society looking at certain disabilities with that people were born with, and then intentionally, try to have a kids that knowing this was a high probability,
right,
versus a person with disability that it's just a random.
And I think that is where you get into a very sticky and very dangerous mindset of how to like move forward in society and like procreating and like having children. Like that's a very dangerous mindset to have. Like, I mean, hello, the Nazis were literally trying to create a perfect race and a perfect, and that's like,
and picking and choosing, that's where, again, we're going to get some deepness here, but like science and everything else has allowed people to pick and choose.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what
and that's like
was made
that
for.
And that's hard because there's a lot of scenarios. So here's another question that has to do with
we'll follow up that though.
But here's another question with having dwarfism, because when you have two parents that have the same type of dwarfism, so let's say I had achondroplasia and we decided to have kids together, you have still a 50% chance that your child will be average height, to my knowledge. But then instead of having a 50% chance that your child will have dwarfism, you have a 25% chance that your child will have achondroplasia dwarfism. But then you also have a 25% chance that your child will be born double dominant, which is when they receive two dominant genes of achondroplasia. And unfortunately, the child's not viable for life. Right?
Yep.
Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah.
So with this whole like picking and choosing, that would be a very difficult position to be in. And we have people in our lives that have chosen, they knew that their child was double dominant and they chose to carry that child to 9 months. And I'm going to get emotional again.
Yeah.
Finish it for me.
Well, okay. When I'm saying picking and choosing, I mean like people are looking for this perfect child.
But in that scenario, when you have been given this child that has these life, like they're not viable for life, but then to still choose to carry 9 months and give birth to a child like that, that's hard.
No, 100%.
That's hard. And that's the only thing that I can look at and be like, wow, IVF and like choosing in that scenario, that saves a lot of heartbreak for a lot of people. Like I think that IVF can be used in like choosing if you have a girl or a boy. Come on, like that's in God's hands, and like that should be left alone. And
sorry, when
I think that
choosing, but like technology allows us to even see if this baby wasn't viable,
right?
And I'm not necessarily talking about the two dwarf parents.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like the two
in general, like two average height parents that want a girl or a boy, and they want to make sure their kid doesn't have X, Y, and Z.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. That's what I'm saying. It's but
I have to just put that in there of like
serious.
I know, but there are those moments that like it's changed my perspective because I think I was very much that way too, where I'm like, this is not where scientists should be going, and this isn't where the world should be going. But then it's changed my outlook on like knowing people firsthand who have been through serious, crazy experiences. And I'm like, gosh, it kind of makes sense for those people. It's not
use IVF.
Yeah, it's IVF. It's not a black and white situation for me anymore, where I think it was a very black and white, Anyway, I didn't mean to like get too serious on that one.
Well, I guess I go down the realm of like abortion though too. In the realm of dwarfism, someone finds out they have a kid or child, a baby with dwarfism coming, and then you get my point though. Like, sorry, I'm talking more general and like that kind of thing. So this mindset of why would you have kids, that are gonna have issues, and then if they are gonna have issues, you can terminate the baby, and like for me, that's not good.
That's a dangerous mindset.
Yes, and I don't.
And I like, my counter to that has always been, you never know what you're gonna get. 2 average height, super healthy, perfectly, perfect parents could be dealt cards that they never saw coming, and like, should they have not had kids just because of the the hand that they were dealt?
So
like, this
random comment on social media doesn't make sense once you actually, it's very hateful, and it's wrong, and it
doesn't help society in any way,
it's not
shape,
viable,
or form.
Like,
it's just, and so I think it's something that we wanted to bring up and talk about, just because we have 3 children that have dwarfism that we chose to bring into this world. And I can't imagine in what world you live in that you can look at our 3 kids and be like, yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I cannot look at my kids and see anything but the grace of God and the love of Jesus. Like, literally, like, I look at my kids and I'm just like, they are such a gift to us.
And then comments will say like, why would you bring, kids with dwarfism in? They're going to get ridiculed. Yeah. And it's like, well, hold on, that's not my problem and that's not their problem. That's those people's problems. Totally. You're telling me I shouldn't have brought kids in with dwarfism because of the ridicule they're going to get from society? That's a society issue. It's a society issue. Well, just hearing the comment too, it's like, it's so short, and like there wasn't a lot of thought brought into that. Like, what does that actually mean? That's like, I'm not going to bring someone into this world because of how society is going to treat. No, then that's a society educational. Right. Society needs to change. Not 100%. That's a society decision.
100%. And I think that we're bringing our kids up, hopefully, in a way that they don't need society to validate them. We don't need society to tell them that they're okay.
We've talked about this before. Parenting with kids with dwarfism does take anyone with a disability. Mm-hmm. It does take a little bit more. Yeah. You can't indulge the same way your average normal family parent mom. We've talked about this. 100%. Moms can indulge. Like, I believe we have to parent slightly different. Right. We have to create a little bit more resilience in them, a little bit more confidence, because they are going to need that little bit more armor on them, but not armor in the sense that they shut off the world. They still have to participate in the world, in society. Right. You get what I'm saying? Right. Some people get so much armor and then they can't participate in society because they're so shut off emotionally from anything. They're afraid to make any relationships because, so it's finding that balance. It is a tough thing.
And I think, like, to that point though too, that could be people who are of average height. Yeah. And completely healthy. And that's where I still go back to this idea that it can happen to anyone. And like, that does not make anyone undeserving of having a family and having kids that might be different.
Oh, totally. And if, God bless America. We live in America too, in my opinion. Like, my politics are honestly changing. But this isn't what you think it is.
Breaking news.
No, this isn't what you guys think it is. Yeah. In my belief, my politics are whatever helps America be able to support, and people can, we can support the disability community. We can support, making ramps for all these different buildings and these policies. But also, like, as a society, are we a healthy, wealthy country? In my mind, you look at some of these poorer countries, when things get tight, love and grace and empathy, all that, even though it sucks, it goes out the window. Yeah. It's survival of the fittest, and dog eat dog world. When things get tight and run out, food gets scarce, there's no time to, so for me, my it's how can we continue, America, and to be able to also, support, comfortably and
I think that that's maybe
does that make sense though?
I think that like adding to your point though too, I think that that's a different how we're parenting our children.
Oh, yeah.
Is we're not parenting them to live off of their disability. Like we're not parenting them to like that's their identity and that's the only thing that they can do or can't do. We're parenting them to say, hey, yeah, you have a disability, but that does not mean you can't still go out and do everything and work hard and achieve the things that you want to achieve. You don't need people to support you, you know? So almost in the opposite direction is it is just like you have this thing, but it doesn't defy you and it doesn't limit you.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that sometimes a lot of times in specifically the dwarfism community, it can be a little bit of like, woe is me and I need, you know, all this extra support and help. And sometimes it is just.
Well, I'll bring up politics again. I think sometimes the woke, whatever you want to call that, the woke movement or whatever, it's backfiring now because people went they're like, yeah, gun ho on it or whatever. When you go so gun ho and push it down people's throats and boom, 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 there's eventually going to be pushback from society. So again, with a disability, I've said this in another podcast or I've alluded to it, you know, it's this balance of like, what do we need and this and that, but like also if you cram it down everyone's throats and if I'm constantly with my friends talking, I do it on this podcast, we do it on this podcast, but if we're constantly cramming it down everyone with me and all
and
of our
yelling
friends,
it from the top,
people eventually are like, hold on,
we get it, we got it, like you have back. Dwarfism.
So it's so my point with America and our society and, you know, our financial health and moral health and everything, keeping America in a good space like that, whatever that may mean, you know, whatever party, whatever thought process, you know, maybe more Jesus, maybe whatever that is, those are my like, that's what I occupies myself now. I don't really occupy myself with like, I don't concern like that's my concern. How is society and politics and all that making a better world for my kids where no, they don't have to depend on that, but they can be accepted, they can go out in the workforce, and maybe other countries. I guess I'm saying I've talked to others, you know, countries, people in other countries, South American countries, where it's you aren't chosen. You can be confident and go out and try to get a job, you just simply won't be chosen. We've talked to our friends up there where they adopted a Ukrainian girl. And the parents are like, we can't bring her into Ukraine. Like, this is, she would be rejected on the spot. Regardless of her personality, regardless. They truly thought their society was, nope, this cannot happen. You know what I'm saying? And there's parts of America, even LPA, there's countries that have strong dwarfism communities. And then there's countries that have nothing. And you're like, where are these people? Like, they're there. They're out there, you know. And then all the countries around them have strong, you know, LPAs or whatever. And this country doesn't, so it is. That's my point.
I think that that's part of like this podcast and what we hope to like achieve with that, and having kids and being out in public and like with people is like this idea that it's gonna be okay. Like everything, like I hope that showing our kids and you and our family and everything is, you know, like it's all okay. Like everyone's good, you know? It's not this like big scary cloud above our heads all day long. We don't think about like all the health issues. Like, I mean, we kind of have a lot going on at the moment, but there's not like, you know, there's not this like huge looming cloud all the time that I think that some of these people think is happening. They think that that's all that like our kids are doing or having health issues.
Yeah.
And that's not reality. No. That's just like, yeah, our kids have to have tonsils out, but like any kid could have to have their tonsils out.
And if your biggest fear is how society is going to treat them, then that's not a you issue. That's not a child's issue. That's a society issue. And that you can't, you know, society.
And hopefully like us sharing this podcast helps society a little bit and like educating people on what dwarfism is, can be, looks like.
But if this podcast doesn't reach society and doesn't educate people, you know, you still have to have some thick skin. You still have to have a little bit more confidence. We had talked about parenting in public, and I went out the other day.
For anyone.
But I went out the other day. I'm like, no one in Battleground listens to Raising Heights, apparently. Okay, like
why?
Kids are just like,
they're just looking at you.
Well, the mom is hiding the kid and like avoiding. And I'm like, no education happened. No education happened. Nothing.
Okay,
you know
but on the other end of that though, I've gotten so many DMs that are like, "Thank you so much for that podcast because now I know how to talk to my kids about it."
Okay, well, I have not seen
Battleground
it. I know
it's hard
in the moment. It's hard in the moment. You're like,
is.
yes, when my kid sees someone with disability,
I'm gonna
I know
do
what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna
Yeah.
educate them, and it's gonna be great. And then the moment happens, you're like, oh shit. Okay, like,
cursing on a podcast?
No,
Can't
you're
do
like,
that.
put the curtain over. It's cheap comedy.
It's cheap comedy, baby. You don't need it.
But okay, you put the curtain over, so
yeah, it's
true.
Like,
anyway, so that's mine.
But I think that yeah, I like. How do we wrap it up? Just like talking, like I think my biggest thing that I've said on this podcast before, and I tell it to Zachary all the time, is I cannot look at my kids and ever think that they were not supposed to be here. That's just like that's madness to me. They're miracles, they're blessings, they are my life. Even when parenting is hard and even when I feel drained, I still at the end of the day look at my kids and just go, thank you, Lord, for giving me this life, giving me this family, and allowing us to do what we do.
Oh yeah. Any child is a
blessing,
and there's a lesson to be learned from them.
And I think that that's another thing too, like a big something is when you are dealt a situation that you think is dire, or you have a child with Down syndrome, a child with dwarfism, you have a child that can't see or can't hear. I think it's really important for us as parents to really look at ourselves and go, what is God teaching me in this moment? What do I need from this experience? Not woe is me, what's wrong? Like, why was I given this child, or why was I given these circumstances? But instead being like, okay, really, what do I need to learn? What is it? And right?
God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. And what am I trying? Yeah. What am I supposed to be experiencing here?
I follow this account, and I don't know if she wants me to shout it out, so I'm not going to say it, but her daughter has Down syndrome. And she is one of the most beautiful souls I've ever seen in my life. Like she dances and she loves Jesus and she has all these friends, and she's just one of them, like one of those accounts that you open up and you're like, gosh, I just feel like a better person because I just watched all of these videos of this girl. And her mom has multiple times talked about, like, when you give somebody a diagnosis of like your child has Down syndrome, your child has dwarfism, your child has whatever, you do mourn for a second. You do go, gosh, like I have to mourn the child I thought I was going to have. But then you get dealt this new beautiful soul, and like you get connected with people, and I just look at this girl and she's sharing so much joy on the internet that, like, gosh, like, can you imagine if that wasn't there, know? And her mom has talked multiple times about, how she's been educated and how we have been educated, how I've been educated with, having kids with dwarfism. It's just like, you have to look inside yourself and be like, okay, what is this teaching me? And what can I share? Again? No, I'm not crying again. Get out of here. Oh my gosh, we should end this before I start crying. Wrap it up. What does my dad do? Wrap it up.
Yeah.
So Zach,
I do it.
Zach, one of the first times he ever came to my house and met my dad, or like family function.
It was a family function.
It was a family function, and Zach starts doing this to me.
I go, hey,
if
Tori.
You can't see if you're listening, he starts like twirling his finger, like wrap it up.
Yeah.
And my dad saw him, and my dad's the most awkward. Love you, Dad. But he's so awkward. So now every time we leave a family function, my dad makes fun of Zach.
Hey, Zach, is it time to wrap it up?
Wrap it up.
Yeah. Okay. Like, are we wrapping this up?
We're wrapping this up.
I meant to say discreetly, Tori, we should head out. Go. I did a little twirl with my finger, and then he made it a freaking rodeo roundup, okay, and said, are we wrapping this up?
No, every family function is wrap it up. Anyway,
I just made my mic go red.
Oh my gosh, for everyone.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Okay, but I also just want to say at the end of this video here, thank you guys for hanging on with us for so long. But in our description, we're going to add the links for LPA and DAAA if you ever have any interest or
education, or if you want to donate. It does create a lot of great experiences for kids, a lot of educational things for parents. For LPA does that, medical resources, but then DAAA, sports is a huge part of our society, huge part. College game day, college football, ESPN, sports. Okay. Sports. And DAAA gives an opportunity for kids with dwarfism to come together and compete and play on a team and like be the quarterback, be the goalie, be the striker, positions that maybe if they do play in society, they're not the quarterback, they have a niche on the team, but they can't play any position. So,
it's a fantastic organization. Both organizations, we're so grateful for them, and we're so, I'm really proud.
I'll reiterate. I said this earlier. I probably wouldn't be attending LPA and DAAA, but I would definitely still be supporting them. Yeah. I'm
so proud of you for how much effort you've put into DAAA, and it's a fantastic organization. So, but thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, on Instagram. All the things. Thank you guys for being here. Do your best. Forget the rest.